Friday. And then from Friday moving forward, there will be about a week and a half of an opening for you to continuously sign up and just for us to get the word around to everybody in ENVD and provide the opportunity. And then the once the sign up is done, we will work through the announcement of teams for those that want to work in the collaborative setting later that week on Friday, July 10th. And then that following Monday is when the 2-week timer for the design competition starts. So the competition again is for the duration of those 2 weeks. And that Friday on the first week, the DWB week 1 check-in will be a designated time provided by our faculty, Sarah and Shaheen, where they will make time to give you guys feedback on the current process that you're on with the design and kind of just the overall expectations and directing you in the correct direction. And then later on, within the upcoming Monday or so on the 27th of July is the submission. And then following the submission, we'll be going through and then just pretty much awarding whoever the designated winner is, which will later come with a DWB virtual networking event. So next slide, I'm not sure exactly who's next on the next one. So Fernando, if you don't mind talking a little bit more about sign up.
Yeah, thanks, Victor. So going off of Victor, like he said, the application to sign up will go live on Friday, June 26th. So this Friday here. And it's going to be similar format to how you RSVP'd to this meeting. Essentially, it's going to be a Qualtrics form. So that's just like another link that you'll get emailed to you. We're going to announce it on Canvas, and we're also going to be posting that link on our social media. So if you're not following us yet, definitely encourage you to follow us. You can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. That's where we're going to post this link. But we'll also be emailing it to some students, especially you all who attended today, so that you can sign up. And then sign up, it's really short application. It just asks you a few questions, and then it talks a little bit about some of the perks about why you would want to join. And it also has a space for you to recommend someone else that might be interested. And we are recording this, so if they happen to miss this info session, and you have someone in mind, you can show them this recording.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that, Fernando. So yes, on our social medias, and we will also be active on Canvas when the competition goes live this Friday and following up with emails. So there will be a various amount of platforms for you to be able to sign up for the competition. So now we will talk a little bit about the benefits and kind of the post outcome once you submit your design. And once the award is designated to the certain group or person. So for this part, if you don't mind talking, Sarah or Roberto.
Yeah, I will start off this perspective in terms of, as an upper division advisor, this is a great opportunity for professionalization, something to incorporate into your portfolio. Is some folks who have attended training we had in terms of transitionary type of working with as you embrace upper division classes, a component on cultural competency and community engagement is very much kind of required and necessary in these day and age for a robust portfolio. And on top of that, it's a matter of just exposure and accessing and doing this work that usually is not asked for in design, but the industry trend is moving towards that. There are folks who engage students and faculty members who are involved, and we directly have two that are working with us, Sarah Tabatabai and Shaheen Rubari. So Sarah, if you want to speak a little bit more, at least from an academic and faculty perspective, that would be great.
Sure. So as Roberto mentioned, I think this is a very important project that can build up your portfolio. I would say it's me, it's like a practice studio project. So If you don't know about practice studios, we used those studios were used to offered at the higher level for juniors and seniors, and students work with the community to basically incorporate their ideas and input in their design. So I would say I would include this project as an important thing in my portfolio. And since COVID-19 is a new subject, and there's not that much research and literature on the relationship between the built environment and COVID-19, actually this project can contribute to the future research. I mean, we can, since the university has an initiative related to COVID-19, we can share the results with that initiative. We can also share the results with the community and help them during this time. So it would be a very important project on your resume that has great impacts. I mean, that can contribute to the future research relating to COVID-19 and the built environment.
And let's see.
Anything else you wanted to add, Roberto? I think you're on mute if you were trying to say something.
I think I ended up muting myself by accident. But there's a couple of more immediate caveats in participating in this program, in this competition, and that's a opportunity to be recognized in our ENVD newsletter and profiled on our website. Boulder Daily Camera, I know that's they're always an email away from some of our designers, some of our Shaheen or some of our faculty who have, such as Shaheen, who have done great work and have used our exhibit space in that regard. So there's a lot of potential. And then we're currently working as faculty and staff advisors to look into type of gift that we can use to recognize the winners of the competition. That's it.
So is there any additional benefits you would like to add on, Fernando? Because if not, we will open the floor to any questions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so historically, in the field of design, oftentimes there isn't a lot of talk of underrepresented communities in the design profession. And so Designers Without Boundaries, essentially being made up of underrepresented students, faculty and staff, etc. That's kind of the mission that we aim to do and to give and to bring to those that might be interested. So this is going to be a really cool experience to learn about communities that maybe you wouldn't or don't learn otherwise. And so if you are looking for an experience like that, in an experience of learning how to best serve underrepresented communities, for example, this would be such a good experience for that. You also get to work with some students that maybe you haven't worked with in the past. And you get to work directly with Sarah and Shaheen. So some great perks, absolutely.
I wanted to add that we usually think that only planners and urban designers are working directly with the community, and people in planning have this opportunity to be more involved with communities, with underrepresented communities or other groups. But this is a good experience for other people who are going to architecture, landscape, architecture, or EPOD to have this community engagement experience, to have this outreach experience that will help you in the future in your professional career, whether you are in planning, whether you're in the landscape architecture or other fields, other design fields.
Perfect. Is there anything you would like to add? Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Roberto.
Yeah. So what a hope is, and what an outcome can be of involving yourself in the design competition, that you get to do hands-on research. And while it is a very small time frame to do this and put this together in a design competition, that research question can still remain linger, and something you can, if you're pursuing an honors thesis, or you have a faculty member that you maybe have TA'd for or worked closely with and say, I want to probe and investigate this further, there's ample opportunities to continue this research. And foreseeably, the impact of COVID and design is something that's going to, change the academic trend and research trend for years to come. So there's a lot of potential and sustained outcome of your research and the questions you bring up internally, and then the questions you challenge, the ENVD community by having put on this work there.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Right now, we will be opening up the floor for any questions you guys may have that are tuning in onto our call. You could either send them to Roberto individually, or you could go ahead and unmute yourself and ask them right here and then.
Hello, everybody. Danny speaking. Just wondering if you are put into your own group or if you actually choose who you want to be with. A little confused on that process.
Fernando, do you want to explain a little bit more since you did the Qualtrics sign up?
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that. So in the Qualtrics sign up, there's also an option for you to click that you would want to participate in this competition by yourself, if that's what you would prefer. You can also type in the name of a person that you're recommending for this. So we would definitely consider those recommendations, but I think it's really going to come down to what our capacity is to host the amount of teams that we can. So we're still working out those details, but if you want to recommend someone that you want to work with, we'll consider that. Otherwise, just apply and we will be putting teams together.
Gotcha, understood, thank you.
And just to be add on to that, the way that you recommend is you put in their at colorado.edu email. So just to make that even more specific, so we could easily make those connections technical wise.
Yeah, just a bit more context on the kind of recommending folks to join your team. On the Qualtrics, as you complete that, it'll generate an email directly to them, letting them know that they've been nominated and that they should reach out and apply themselves. And also, aside from that Qualtrics, probably just to reach out and text them and let them know that, you want to work on this endeavor with them. So there'll be multiple points of contact with other folks who, weren't on the interest meeting or perhaps aren't actively thinking about doing the design competition right now.
Yeah, and then I would also add, if you know someone that you want to recommend, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to work with them. Maybe you just you want to experience just new people and different backgrounds. Just indicate somewhere in the application that you would like to be in a team that's random. And we could definitely accommodate that too.
I have a question. So how many people are you allowed to have in a team? Is there a limit to the amount?
Yeah, so
Yeah, go ahead, Lauren, my bad.
I was just going to say we are aiming for teams of 3 to 4 because we believe that is the optimal amount of people to provide enough skills and share skills amongst each other. It would be all about learning from one another. So as we put the teams together, we're going to aim for 3 to 4, but depending on how many people register, it might change. So we'll see about that.
Anybody else feeling bold enough to ask a question right now?
Oh, go ahead, Caleb. Oh, I was just going to ask what the expected time commitment might look like, just to try to get an idea of whether it's feasible or not.
Lauren, do you want to answer this one too?
Yeah, sure. So the way that we put together this competition with the case studies is really broad enough so that the amount of time you put into it is what comes out of it. So each group is going to have a different dynamic. Each group is doing different commitments through summer, or maybe some are not doing anything really at all. So it's kind of just put your all into it, because at the end of the day, this competition is for you, and it's for your professional development and understanding of these communities. And so, and also like portfolio wise, the better the work, the better it is for yourself as well. So I would say as much as you can put into it is what will come out of it.
Yeah, to add on to Lauren, since we were developing this and just continuing, that was obviously kind of the mindset that we went in with the competition, was just we're obviously students too, so like what can we envision people taking part of as far as like the time commitment and the effort goes. But like how she mentioned, it is what you put into it. If you decide to sign up, there is more guidelines like on the assignment sheet itself, but those are all like recommendations. At the end of the day, you provide what best communicates your design. So if you feel like a couple of like renderings best like communicates your design, or like a couple of sketches here and there that are well like diagrammed and explained, then that is either gonna sell your sell your design or not. So it's really open to like your own interpretation, honestly. But there's some more guideline on the assignment if you like sign up.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think the type of time commitment, it depends, boils down to your kind of scope, the type of questions and what you want to investigate, your research, and of course, ultimately, what we consider your deliverables. And that could look like a lot of things. So the cool thing about this design competition is very open-ended, and it can be interpreted a lot of ways. We've mentioned things such as renderings and sketches. We can look at infographics, kind of creative flair. So there's a lot of creative opportunity here, and we're excited to see what comes out of it. If it's very technical, that's great. If it's very creative and kind of puts a lot of social, what we would call social dreaming, or kind of very much speculative design, where you have don't necessarily have immediate constraints, but if you had everything you need, what could you do? There's also consideration there. So I'll leave that up to our participants to really hash out what deliverables they want.
Is there anything you would like to add on to that question, Sarah, as far as like hearing us talk through the planning of the competition?
Yeah, I would say that you can look at it as a charrette. So usually in urban design, in landscape architecture, we have like 2-3 days of charrette, which is an intensive design, like not workshop, but design charrette. Each day they spend about like 8 hours on a project and get it done. So I would say for me, I would put more time on the investigation, on analysis, on concept development, and concept plan, and the major design. And then on the final, I think for students it's a little bit different, because they think that they have to spend a lot of time on the final product and make it beautiful, which is great. But we would, I mean, our focus is more on, as we always mention in design and studios, on how the design is context sensitive, and how the design, how the final product is evidence-based. So how it's driven by what you have seen on the site. And then whatever time that has left, you can put it on rendering and beautifying the final product. But I would say that the concept development, the analysis, and the major design idea, design intervention is the most important part of the your project. And since you're 2-3 people, and I know a few of you, and I know that you're great designers, I've worked with you, I think it shouldn't take more than 3-4 days for you to, I would say 4 days of 10 hours a day to like 40 hours to finish this project for 3 people working together.
Thank you for that insight, Sarah.
Sure.
Anybody else has any other questions?
Would you recommend when forming a team to search out for people with similar interest in design, like all landscape architects or EPOD people, or would you try to make a diverse team and kind of spread yourself over all the disciplines?
I feel like any of us could answer this, but I'll put in my 2 cents real quick. Yes, we highly encourage all of you, if like, let's say on this call, it's not necessarily like anybody you want to work with, but you have your own like people that you have in mind that would be great for this, please reach out to them. If you want, you could even redirect them to us to provide further information and guidance. But we strongly encourage for you guys to take on that initiative too, to like make those recommendations of who you want to work with, especially if you guys have worked together in the past before. But I will say, we will like also consider certain aspects. Like for example, I'm a senior this year, so let's say like I know my peers, like I know who's good at what, like who does this one stuff, but like obviously it wouldn't be like fair to like a freshman team if it was like all them and like all their buddies against like my team, because I know like I'll build like a powerhouse, like power team, and we're just like it wouldn't be like good playing ground. But that's just something that we would also take into consideration for the competition itself.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that, it's a really good question. So like regarding each discipline within ENVD, I do suggest recommending students that you know are within your same discipline or at least same interest level. Like EPOD students work really well with architects. Architects work really well with landscape architects. Planners work well with landscape architects. You know, like these you don't have to memorize that, by the way. It's just kind of like the scale, or like the scale of the discipline that would work better together. Doesn't need to all be the same discipline. You can mix and match it, but the closer they are together, I think the more successful your project would be, because you're on the same level and same kind of dream making for what the potential of the project could be.
And I wanted to, since I see very familiar faces, and I've worked with a few of you, I know most of you are sophomores, so I would say if you were at like juniors or seniors, it would be more beneficial if you went with like your cohort. If you are in landscape architecture, like have a group of landscape architects and work together on a landscape architecture project. But I think most sophomores, you have equal knowledge about all 4 disciplines. So that would be your decision to go to focus your project on architecture, landscape, planning, like urban design, or EPOD. And I think that you have good knowledge of all 4 disciplines. And then based on that, you can develop your project. So I think that the topic will drive your project, not your discipline at this point, because you have good knowledge of all 4 disciplines. But if you're at a higher level, junior, seniors, I think that it might be more beneficial if you choose a cohort. So if you're a landscape architect, go with like choose your group to be a landscape architect, and then come up with a very professional landscape architecture project. And also work. It might be more beneficial to choose your group, your team, to choose people that you're more comfortable with, and you know the strengths and weaknesses of each other. So I think it should be more productive if you know people in your group.
Thank you for
Thank
that,
you all.
Sarah.
Sure.
Thank you for the question. Anybody would like to add anything to that? Fernando, Roberto? the question.
Will the competition and like all the stuff and the location that we're working with be kind of more pronounced as we go forward and get like the statement and everything, or is it kind of we're just going off of like a certain area and we just pick a project?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't talk about that enough, so thanks, Dane. The case studies that we have listed, there's 3 of them, and they have a specific location. But of course, if you're doing a product design, you're going to be doing something like within that like building or within that specific community. But if you're doing a planning project, you might look at the scope beyond that building or that community to really make that community better. Yeah, so there will be a defined location and defined problems within that community and suggested topics that you could consider for designing based off of. But at the end of the day, if you see a topic within that community that I may not have found during my research, then you should go through it as long as it stays consistent with the case study itself.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that Lauren's done a really good job at developing those case studies. So all that information, and like other resources that you may use to like help enhance your design and just like consider will definitely be included once you sign up and stuff. So yeah, we've thought about those items for this competition.
And
Awesome.
sorry.
Oh, you can go.
So can I add something else? I think so. So we haven't posted the assignment sheet, the description of the project yet. You can find more information there, but just imagine that. So you have 3 communities. You have you select a case study, and the purpose of the project is that we know that COVID-19 has influenced the well-being of communities in different ways. So most importantly, COVID-19 has impacted communities like the financial and social well-being of many communities. On the other hand, in many communities, in many, I would say in the public realm, because of COVID-19, so it has basically limited people's access to the public realm and people's use of public realm, right? So that social and financial part, I think it's a very pure planning topic, and we are not going to go to that direction that much. So we are more focused on how to revise and how to improve the design of the community, so that we don't know for how long we are struggling with COVID-19, or maybe in a few years with another infectious disease. But we know that one thing that affects people's use of public spaces, people's use of, I don't know, services and like parks and other facilities is we have to observe that social distancing thing. So that's the main criteria here. We don't want people to get isolated and stay home for the entire time. We want to provide this opportunity for people, this opportunity to go and use that public spaces to, for instance, if they go, and also if they go to, if they're at school, if they go to grocery shopping, they have the best experience. How we can revise the design of these public spaces or schools or whatever to improve that experience, so that people don't get isolated, people have maximum, can get maximum advantage when they go to those areas. And it's not necessarily, it can be an architecture project, it can be a landscape architecture project, it can based on the size and scope of the project. It can be an urban design project, or you can come up with an innovative industrial design idea that help people not to get isolated during this time.
Thank you for that response, Sarah.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions that we could provide for you guys? Is there any slides that you guys would like for us to go back on? Like, I know we rushed through them a little bit. So if you want to know a little bit more about a particular thing or just a reminder, just let us know. We will be following up again on our social media and stuff for other directions on the competition, but just be looking out for the sign up.
Will these slides be posted anywhere?
That's a good question. I was considering that. And you might be able to find them on our Instagram later on. I just have to double check with our graphic designer.
And then I just want to add to that, this information session is being recorded, so we will post the video. So if you want to go back to the video and reference the slides that way, that's also an option.
Thank you.
I had another question. So Sarah was talking about the different ways you can go about this project. Are these solutions that we're trying to find more of like a long-term or like an immediate kind of combating the COVID-19 problem like as soon as possible? Or are they more like changing the city and how it works for future disasters?
I would say either way. So that depends on how you design your, how you define your project. So it can be a short-term solution that can be expanded to or it can be evolved into a longer-term solution.
Just want to share, as just from an advisor perspective, I would say I think COVID has exacerbated a lot of already existing, social systems and conditions. So I mean, I would say a component on the long-term impact, even if you have short-term component on what the sustainability of your design and the long-term considerations, either or. So if you're doing long-term as is your main emphasis, do something short-term, and then vice versa. So I think incorporating both would be ideal to kind of capture, as best as you can, the aim and purpose of your design.
I think designing for longer term might be a little bit more difficult because you need to project that data to a longer term. You need to have more information beyond what we have, beyond our existing information, to develop your ideas for a longer term. But you can come up with some assumptions to do that.
Great. Does that answer your question, Dane? I think it was Dane who asked it.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
All right, cool. Anybody else? Highly encouraged, but I feel like we will be posting these slides on our social media for you guys to refer back to. So you guys can send them out to your friends who you want to be considered working alongside with. Is there anything else you guys would like to add in closing, either Roberto or Fernando? Sarah, you're welcome to. Lauren as well.
I would say in the competition, if you want to meet up and look into ways of how to best incorporate this into your portfolio, myself and Nate would love to sit down and talk about that. And in terms of how you would incorporate language into your resume or your CV about your kind of commitment to, you know, the larger goal of this competition, I'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you and any other participants. Even if you don't win, you know, there's still something, you know, there that you can, I want you to incorporate into your professional development track.
The only thing I would add is I know there's a lot of information here, and this is a brand new competition that we've been creating together, and you know, more questions might come up. I would just say keep in mind the deadlines and reach out to us if you have any more questions later on. Maybe you're thinking something comes up later. Reach out to us and we would be happy to answer them, just to make sure that this competition will be really good for you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to just emphasize that me and Shaheen are available. If you have any questions, throughout the process, if you have any questions about your design idea, about your concept, about site analysis, so look at it as a practice studio, and look at me and Shaheen as your instructor. So we are available at any time to help you throughout the process.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Is there anything else you would like to add, Lauren, in closing this off?
I guess I would just ask the question of when and where can we find the sign up for this competition?
Awesome. Fernando, would you mind sending that in the chat for everybody to refer back to and take a good first look at before they log off, I guess?
Yeah, Victor, can you repeat that? You want me to send the application link?
Yeah, the one to sign up for the competition. And this will just give you guys an overview of like some of the details and what will be coming back to you once you do sign up.
Yeah, and I would just add too that in this link that I'm going to share on the chat right now, there's a lot of information here too. So definitely read it over and keep an eye on the deadlines and submit your application when you're ready.
And there was a question of slides. What I'm going to do is just going to copy and paste the Google Slides link. So just open it up on your desktop. I'll just stay on the call for a bit. So this is not the Qualtrics, this is the slides, just to be, just to let you know. So open them up on your desktop and I'll stay on the call for a bit while you access that, okay? In the meanwhile, we'll find another way to share that link to others who couldn't attend.
All right, so thank you everybody for joining in on this info sesh. We will be in touch with everybody on this call and just be on the lookout for further information and guidance.
Thank you everyone so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just stay on the call just for a minute if you don't mind. Take care.
Thank you.
See ya.